Welcome to TMZ Live. Harvey Levin here.
Charles here.
So now that people have had time to process it, I got to say, such a spectacular loss on the part of prosecutors in the Diddy case. Getting convicted of the Mann Act, he is going to get out within a year. I mean, based on based on sentencing guidelines, prosecutors are asking for a little more than 4.
Right.
And he's already served nearly a year. He's not going to get 4. He's going to get less than that. He could easily get 2 under the sentencing guidelines, and he's already served 1, plus there's credit that he's going to get. Diddy will get out, but when he got back to prison, it was raucous.
On Wednesday night, when he walked in after, like you said, certainly he views it as a victory, the other inmates gave him a standing ovation.
He beat the feds.
Because he beat the feds. His attorney, Mark Agnifilo, said that he got basically a hero's welcome because they don't, the way the other inmates see it, they don't, this is such a rarity that someone beats the government.
Very rare. I mean, the government has such, when you look at the resources in Diddy, to get 70 Homeland Security agents to raid 2 houses, to spend the time to put 6 prosecutors on this, and all that they did, it is hard to beat that. And he had the money to hire a legal team that kicked their ass. I mean, they just did.
That's why part of the reaction of the other inmates sort of surprised me, because you could see it cutting the other way, that they would be resentful that a guy with lots of money and power was able to beat the feds while maybe some of the people in prison didn't have those resources. But it cut the other way. They just want to see the government beaten, and there's a real camaraderie in prison. And he apparently came in and was feted like a hero, a returning hero, after being told he had to go back and sit in the facility and not be released on bond, which I think was a bit of a stomach punch to Diddy. There's some of the sketches show he was quite upset with that ruling, but it must be nice to come home.
You know, I did some recon on this, and I was actually wrong on this because I thought he would get out, but they knew he wasn't, and they were prepared for it because they conceded domestic violence in open court. So they kind of knew that he was going to stay in until sentencing. Nonetheless, now there's been a shoe that's been put on another foot.
Right. The immediate aftermath of the trial for Diddy was getting that applause in prison. For Cassie, it was getting hit with a lawsuit that was filed by a man named Clayton Howard. He's one of the male escorts that had freak-offs with Cassie and Diddy. During the trial, he was referred to as Dave. But he says that not only did Diddy control him, but Cassie controlled him. So you have now Diddy and Cassie as co-defendants in this lawsuit that accuses her, Clayton claims that she got pregnant and had it with his child and had an abortion without telling him. Also that he got an STI from her. And he said all along, you know, people during this trial, you had Cassie as the victim. She was victim 1, but his experience, he says, is that she was very much in control. This is what he had to say about why he didn't file this lawsuit sooner.
1, I was in an economic position where I really needed the money. 2, Mr. Combs is incredibly powerful, and Ms. Ventura had no problem in her use of that power. There's a side of her that people don't, the side that manipulated Sean Combs' power, the side that embraced his power and his position to do things that she wanted. So I was always afraid if I stopped coming, then I would start having problems, because she threatened me several times not to come and made me feel uncomfortable that I would come to see her just to avoid any problem with Sean Combs.
So, you know, what's interesting about this, we spoke to one of the alternate jurors over the weekend, and he was saying, look, that he felt, and it sounds like the rest of the jury did too, that it wasn't so much a victim, although a lot of people on the outside say it was, as somebody who was consenting and was getting something out of the relationship. He's kind of echoing that in a way.
Yeah, that is certainly what Clayton was saying, that what she got out of it was power. And he said that he actually did want to file this lawsuit. He didn't want to wait until the trial was over. He wanted to file it before. He claims his attorney basically was in cahoots with the prosecutors and didn't want to make Cassie look bad. And that's why he eventually, Clayton, filed this lawsuit himself. He didn't file it with an attorney. So
it's a little bit strange that his attorney would not want to sully Cassie's reputation if he ends up suing Cassie. What is interesting to me about this is we did see glimmers of another side of Cassie during the criminal trial. Remember, there was an audio recording of her threatening another one of these alleged sex workers, and that showed a different perspective on who she was during this 11-year relationship, sometimes consenting, maybe sometimes even embracing the power that Diddy had. So I'm not sure you can discard what Clayton is saying in this lawsuit out of hand, but I think both things can be true. She could have been a victim in some respects and a perpetrator in others, potentially.
This is Mackenzie from Bucks County. I think as an attorney, this case with Mr. Howard is not going to get far with Cassie as a co-defendant, in my opinion. This escort claiming that Cassie has a different side to her, that embraced the freak-offs and was trying to manipulate Diddy and Mr. Howard after we all just saw her testimony that she was also being used and manipulated and heavily into drugs at this point in her life, makes the accusation very misguided. Bottom line is that she is not the person who started the freak off, so I would be willing to bet that he's not going to be awarded any monetary damages from her in this suit if it even moves forward at all.
I will say, the way you're putting it is what a lot of people said before we heard the jury speak. The jury is not embracing what you just said. They didn't embrace what you just said, that she was a victim.
At a civil trial, it's going to be up to the jury, or I'm sorry, it's going to be up to the judge to look at all the facts of the case. And the facts of the case are simply that Cassie was not the initiator of all of this.
Yeah,
not the initiator, but you know what the.
But I think Clayton may suffer the same thing that Cassie did, in that if this actually goes to trial, that they're going to say, look, you were along with this, you were getting paid,
exactly.
You were getting paid very well. So
you weren't being manipulated or forced into doing anything.
Right. So he may suffer the same fate that Cassie did.
I think he will.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on.